Good morning. Happy Monday. Today is December the 6th, 2022. Welcome to our math class. Remember, link to the Nearpod has been emailed to you. Please log into the Nearpod and work along with me so that you can actually understand the questions I'm going to go over in today's class. Let's go ahead and get started. Some announcements. Final math assignment is due this week. It opens up today. It is the Progress Learning Quiz. It will be due on December the 8th, Thursday. Opens up today and it is due on Thursday. Secondly, you want to complete all teacher graded assignments by December 9th, 2022. That is this Friday. Teacher graded assignments make up your TFAR assessments, progress learning quizzes, and these kind of things. You want to make sure you will complete all your online quizzes by December 13th. After this date, the quizzes will lock and you will not have access to them any longer. Lesson objectives for today's math lesson. In this lesson, you will learn how to write an equation in the form y equals mx plus b from tables, graphs, and scenarios, and vice versa. For example, given an equation, would you be able to create tables, graphs, scenarios, right? And vice versa. Given a scenario, would you be able to graph it, create a table, write equation, and so on? So in these all four different multiple representations, you should be fluent with linear functions. Let's go ahead and look at the first question. So the question reads, determine the equation of the line given by the graph. And on our right side, we have a graph given to us. We also have four answer choices for the equations. Let me go ahead and write down the general form of equation. We say the linear function is y equals m, that is rate of change, x, that is our input, and then plus b or minus b depending on the scenario or depending on the graph. Okay, b is your y-intercept. That means at what point does this red graph intersect my y-axis. So I'm gonna mark my y-axis, and you all know y-axis is my vertical line. And B is the point where this graph intersects the y-axis. So let's see, this is the graph, this is y-axis. Where do they intersect? Here, very clearly, right? The intersecting point lies here. I'm going to put a red dot for my B. Okay, and here it is. This is the y-intercept, or B in the equation. And let's read on the y-axis number line what number that is. This is 0. A number below 0 is a negative number. So I can probably say this first one is a -1. And below that one should be which one? Go ahead, guess on your Nearpod. Pause the video, try to answer B on your own, then unpause and watch the rest of the recording. Probably I will say that B has to be -2. Right? So I know this part of the equation at this point, that B is -2. So if I want to write my equation with the numbers in it, I will say y equals, I don't know the green m, but I know I'm going to leave some space for m, but I will say x. And in this case, because b is -2, I will not say plus b, I will say -2. Because in this case, b is negative. Whenever b is negative, We don't want a plus sign here. We just replace that with a minus sign. So I can say minus 2. Remember, there is this m missing. M is still missing from this equation. M, let's go ahead, talk about M a little. M is M is your rate of change. And how do you calculate your rate of change? You do rise over run. This is how you calculate M, rise over run. M basically is how much is the change from one point on the graph to another. And to find change, you need 2 points. And that makes sense. You cannot find change or difference without 2 comparison points. So I've got 1 point, that is the red point. B, y-intercept, right? I need 1 more point on the graph. So I can calculate M, rate of change. Let's go ahead, put a readable point on the graph. And right over here, I can say it is a nice, good, readable point. I've got 2 points. I'm going to find M using rise over run. And remember, whenever you read a graph, exactly like how you read a book, you will read from left to right. That means I will start from the red dot. I will start from the red dot, right, and go to the right dot. So let's see the rise over the run. From red dot, how much is the rise? The rise is 1, 2, 3. The rise is 3. So I can say rise is 3. And how much is the run? I am not there yet. I need a run. I need to run only 1 block. So therefore I will say run is 1. I got a fraction. Remember, 3 over 1 equals 3. Therefore I figured out my M. In this equation, M is supposed to be 3. And how will my complete equation look like? The complete equation is y equals 3x minus 2. Rate of change in this equation is 3. Y-intercept is negative 2. What does that mean? The rate of change is 3. That means if I start at a point, whenever x changes by 1, y rises by 3. Whenever x changes by 1, y should rise by 3. What does the negative 2 mean? Negative 2 means y-intercept. Look at the y-axis. Look at the graph. Where do the two meet? They both meet at negative 2. Therefore, I have minus 2 in my equation. You will see all of these. You probably can figure out D is the one that matches. If there are still questions and concerns, please do not hesitate to email me or send me a text message, and I'm going to be more than happy to answer. Let's go ahead and look at the next question. Question says graph the following equation on the coordinate plane. Equation says y equals negative 3 over 2x minus 1. At this point, I want you to pause the video. Please graph the points for this linear function on the graph on your own. Then only unpause the video and watch the rest. Okay, I hope you did get a chance to plot the points. Now let's go ahead and match your answers with mine. Given this equation, I'm going to go ahead label out my B. B is y-intercept. And in this equation, B is the ending part, and this equation ends with negative 1 over here. This is B, y-intercept. Y-axis is This one, right? And you have to look at your y-axis to figure out y-intercept at -1. Then I also know my m. M is -3/2. Remember the formula for m? M is rise over 1. And let me go ahead and write it down. M is supposed to be rise over 1. And in this particular case, the rise over 1 is -3/2. And let's go ahead, get started with the graphing part. Okay. I know that B is -1. B tells you where the graph has to start. I'm gonna go grab my red pen. I'm gonna graph y-intercept B -1. I go to the y-axis, I will go to -1. This is 1. This is 0. Here we have -1. This is where B is. Now on my graph, I have got my first point. Remember, we only need 2 points to create a linear graph, a straight line. 2 points are more than enough. Then you can use a straight edge and connect the dots. And like here in an online slide, you cannot use a straight edge, but you will use some patterns to come up with more dots and try to connect them in as straight as possible. Let's go ahead and look at my next dot. The next dot will come from M, right? M. M tells me the change in points from one point to another. M says the rise is -3. This negative tells me it is not a rise, it is a fall. Let's see how that looks like. This is the red dot and I fall. 1, 2, 3. Then I have to run 2 blocks. You run to the right side only. 1, 2. Look at it carefully. Does that make sense? What did you see? Is there a fall? Let's see. Fall needs to be 3. 1, 2, 3. That is the fall. -3. Right? Then you need to run 2 to the right. Did I run 2 to the right? 1, 2. Yes, I did. That is how I get the green point. These brown things are all imaginary in your mind, so I'm going to erase it again just for clarification. We'll get rid of those brown things. So now we got 2 dots on the graph. The first dot is your B, y-intercept. The green dot is the dot that I arrived by using M, the rate of change, the change from one dot to another. I'm going to go ahead and use the pattern and come up with the rest of the dots. So I'm going to go down 3 and 2 to the right. I go down 3 and 2 to the right. Same, I will go up 3 and 2 to the left. Go up 3 and 2 to the left. And that's all I can do. And it looks like a straight line if I'm going to connect them. Let's go ahead, connect the dots and try to create as straight as possible a linear function. And you can put arrows on both ends to show that the graph keeps going on and on both ends. I will also label this graph with the equation y equals -3/2x minus 1. This is like a complete graph. It should have arrows on both ends. It should also be labeled by the equation. Let's go ahead and move on to the next question. Okay, here What is the equation of the line graphed? We have 4 answer choices. We also have a graph. We want the equation. As a reminder, how do we write the equation? Equation starts with y equals mx plus b. M is rate of change and x is the input plus b, and b is the y-intercept. It can be a plus b if b is positive. It can also be a minus b if the value of b is negative. Firstly, I will always start with my b. B is y-intercept, and it lies on the y-axis. This is the y-axis. So where is b? Right here. The graph and the y-axis meet over here. I'm gonna go mark my b. B is right over here. This much larger red dot is the b. So that means I can say my equation should end with a -2 because b is -2. So the equation should end with a -2 because this is the value of b. What does that mean? I can say that C is not the correct answer. Let's go ahead, move on, and find M. And just as a quick reminder, how do we calculate M? M is the rate of change, and to find M, you can do rise over 1. Rise over 1 as a fraction. Let me go ahead and put a fraction bar right there. Okay, so to find M, the rate of change, to find change, you definitely need 2 points you can compare. I'm going to go put one more dot on the graph so that I can compare those 2 dots and find M. And the dots are actually marked here. I will just go ahead and mark this dot. This green dot is my next dot. When I'm going to read the graph, I read it from left to right, just like how I read a book. So this is the left side of the graph, meaning I start from the red dot and go to the green dot. Let's go ahead and do that. I will start from the red dot. I have to rise first. So go rise from the red dot. Rise 1, 2, 3. I rise 3. Let's see the run. I am still not there at the green dot. I have to run. The run is 1. So the run is 1. Remember, a number over 1 is the number itself. 3 over 1 is the same as 3. And in this equation, M has to be 3. Here, it says -3, not the correct answer. Again, -3, not the correct answer. +3, D is the correct answer. Look at the question thoroughly, see if it makes sense. If you also plan to complete writing the equation, you can say over here, y equals 3x minus 2. There we are. Let's go ahead, move on, look at the next question. Sam can type 368 words in 8 minutes. So, what is the constant of proportionality? Constant of proportionality that relates the number of words typed y to the number of minutes it took to type the words x. Some key vocabulary words we need to know for this question. Okay, the word constant of proportionality means unit rate. Or in other words, I can say to find for each, right? In this case, to find for each minute, the unit rate. What do I know? I know that Sam can type 368 words in 8 minutes. To find the unit rate, I need to find then how many words can Sam type in 1 minute. Unit rate, 1 minute. Right? Unit constant of proportionality means unit rate. To find for one, to find for each. So if I want to find for 1 minute, I know for 8 minutes, I can simply divide. So I will go ahead, divide 368 by 8. And that will give me the constant of proportionality. 368 divided by 8. How many 8s can go into 36? 4. And that is 32. With a remainder of 4. Then I have 48. How many 8s can go into 48? Right? How many 8s can go into 48? Think about it. 6 of them, right? So there we go. I can say that in 1 minute, Sam can type 46 words. That is the correct answer. Sam can type in 46 words in 1 minute. Therefore, the constant of proportionality is 46 words per minute. If you look at the equation y equals mx plus b, constant of proportionality is the part that is m. That is why I chose to solve the question using the green pen. Let me know if there are any questions. Feel free to send me an email if you are confused about it. Let's go ahead and move on and look at the next question. In this question, I have a table and I want to write down an equation. Pause the video, solve this question in the Nearpod on your own, and then compare your answers with me. Remember, just watching the video in a math class or attending my lesson and not solving along with me, this is not how you will learn math. You might think that you're able to learn, but you will learn only 30%. As you practice along with me, you learn 70%. If you practice on your own after class at least 2 to 3 times during the week, you will get to 95% and even higher retention for the topic. So make sure you are solving along with me in the Nearpod. Let's go ahead see how the equation will look like for the table. The equation in general form looks like this. Y equals m rate of change, x input, and plus or minus b depending on the equation, right? Either adding or subtracting. We have to figure that out. But because for right now I don't know, I will just put plus b. Well, this table tells you b. How? Whenever x is 0, the value of b is given to you. The b is the y-intercept. So the corresponding y value is the b. Okay? When x is 0, the corresponding y value is b. In this case, b is plus 8. Positive 8. So if there are some equations I'm looking at, no, not plus 2, I said positive 8. So possibly B, not C. It says -8. And possibly D can be the answer. Let's go ahead find M. If you remember from class, we were talking about M from a table, and that we can also use a formula for M. We can say to find M, I can do triangle, that is change in Y over change in X. Right? From a table, this is how you find M. And make sure you remember the formulas. Nobody will provide you the formulas. They should be memorized. The change in Y. Let's see the change in Y. I can pick any two numbers to find change in Y. I'll still go ahead and pick the top two numbers. From 2 to 10, how much is the change in Y? It is adding 2. Right? So I can say 2. And how much is change in X? Corresponding change in X. From 0 to 2, the corresponding change in X is also adding 2. So I will say M is 2 over 2. 2 over 2 can be solved and reduced to 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So basically M is 1. I will go ahead and write down the equation. Okay, M is 1, so I'm going to put 1, and we'll also complete the equation. The equation starts with Y equals 1x plus 8. So let's look here. How much is M? I see negative x. What does negative x means? Negative x means negative 1x. Remember, 1 is invisible in math. Negative 1x. But I know M is supposed to be a positive 1. Not the correct answer. I can say D is correct. See? This equation can be rewritten like this. Y equals x plus 8 or y equals 1x plus 8. Both mean the same. So this is the part a lot of students forget, mix up, do a variety of errors. So make sure you follow the correct way of solving. Let's go ahead and move on. Look at the next question. Okay. Which linear equation represents the data in the table? A very similar question. I'm going to talk about the question a little. Here you see the word linear and it has the word line. Remember, if you try to graph these points, they will create a straight line. That's why it is called linear equation. Pause the video at this time, write down the equation on your own. We just went over one very similar question. I know you can do it. Okay, now you can compare your answer with me. I'm going to write down the basic general form of equation. Y equals mx plus b. Mx plus b, right? B is y-intercept. B sometimes is given in the table. When x is 0, the corresponding y value is the b. In this case, b will be 9. So I know the equation should end with plus 9 because it is positive 9. I know it is not a plus 5. It is not a minus 5. It is not a minus 9. I will scratch off all these answers. It literally leaves just one correct answer for me at this point. I will still work my way out and I'm going to figure out if this is the correct answer or not. I'm going to go find M. And to find M, remember change in Y divide by change in X. Let's go ahead and write it down here. M equals change in y over change in x. And I'm going to go do the fraction bar. Okay, let's find change in y. So from 9 to 14, change in y is adding 5, right? So I know the numerator is 5. Change in y is 5. How much is change in x? From 0 to 1, change in x is 1, adding 1. So denominator is 1. 5 over 1 is the same as 5. So I can say m equals 5. And I can put the 5 over here and I can complete writing the equation. The equation you guys know starts with y equals 5x plus 9. Kind of very well matches with answer choice C. Okay, look at it, see if that makes sense. Okay, go ahead, move on to the next question. I'm going over these questions because these seem to be challenge questions to most of you as I looked at your progress learning grades from last week. And if you want to bring those grades up, you absolutely can share with me a completed Nearpod for these slides and I can add some points to your grade. Cannons purchased 6 gallons of gas for $13.56. What is the constant of proportionality that relates the cost in dollars y to the number of gallons x? Just a quick reminder about constant of proportionality. Constant of proportionality is unit rate. What does that mean? It means to find for each. In this case, to find for each gallon, right? So what do I know? I know that 6 gallons cost $13.56. If I want to find constant of proportionality, I will find the cost of 1 gallon. Right? Simply divide. If you'll divide 13.56 by 6, it will give you the answer. And let's go ahead and divide over here. $13.56 divided by 6. How many 6? I'll line up the decimal first. How many 6 can go into 13? 2. And that is 12. Remainder 1. I bring down the 5. How many 6 can go into 15? 2. So that is 12. Remainder 3. I bring down the 6. How many 6 can go into 36? 6. Evenly, right? With no remainder. And you subtract 36 and 36, you get 0, right? So basically the cost of 1 gallon will be $2.26. If I want to answer this question, I will say that the constant of proportionality is $2.26 per gallon. So basically constant of proportionality means to find for each. In this case, find for each gallon. So here we are to the next question. Let's go ahead and look at this one and see what it is asking. The chart below shows the number of seats in a restaurant. So number of tables and number of chairs. So 3 tables, 36 total chairs. 6 tables, 72 total chairs. 9 tables, 108 total chairs. You want to find constant of proportionality. What does that mean in this case? Let's go ahead and see. So just as a reminder, constant of proportionality is unit rate. That means I will go ahead and find for each. In this case, I'm going to find for each table how many chairs in each table, right? That is constant of proportionality. And that makes sense. So I know that 3 tables have a total of 36 chairs. To find constant of proportionality, I'm trying to find then how many chairs on one table. Right? Very simple question. I know. You can simply and easily answer 12 chairs. That's the answer. So if you're finding constant of proportionality, I would say that there are 12 chairs with each table. That's the complete answer. So this question probably clarifies more about the concept of constant of proportionality. 12 chairs at each table. That means 3 tables will have 36 chairs, 6 tables will have 72 chairs, 6 times 12, and 9 times 12, 108 chairs, right? Okay. Here we have this question. It says, which line correctly represents the equation y equals negative 2/3 x minus 4? Please pause the video at this time. Try to figure out the answer on your own. Then unpause it and see if you were correct. And then look at it very carefully to see why the certain answer was correct. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to go mark my b. Remember, in this equation, b is the ending part. B is negative 4. Where is B on the graph? I'm going to mark B on the graph. People, remember, B lies on this y-axis. B lies on the y-axis, where the graph meets the y-axis. So all these blue graphs I'm going to look at and see where's my B. Right here. Negative 4 is right here. I know this dot is one of the dots on the graph. And I can clearly say that one of the incorrect graphs is this top one. So this top one is a wrong graph. It doesn't pass through negative 4, it passes through a positive 4. This is a wrong graph. Then I also know m, rate of change, the change from one point to another. And n is negative 2/3. The change has to be negative 2/3 from one point to another. That means negative 2 being the rise. And that means negative 2 is not a rise, it is a fall, right? So the rise is negative 2 and the run has to be 3. And let's see where it is true. Negative 2 is a fall. So I'm at a red dot. Negative 2 means go down 2. 1, 2. So fall of 2. Then run 3. 1, 2, 3. I get to this point. Let me go put a mark. So again, rise, negative 2, run 3. Negative 2 rise is not a rise. It is a fall. Red dot, fall 2. 1, 2. Then run 3. 1, 2, 3. Here is the dot. And I got the correct equation. Right? This one is the correct equation. If I can verify 2 points, I can verify that that graph is correct. You just need to verify 2 points to make sure which graph is correct. Because 2 points are needed to create a straight line. With 2 points you can verify. I can confidently say with 100% confidence that this is the correct graph. Let's go ahead and move on. We have another table. We have some answer choices and see which one matches. Pause the video at this time so you also get some time. Answer the question. It doesn't matter even if you answer it incorrectly. We are all learning. Do not feel bad about answering it incorrectly. Hopefully by the end of this week, you will feel better about it. You will start to get more confident about your work. Well, when we write equation, the general form is y equals mx plus b. This is how the general form is. B is y-intercept. In a table, sometimes B is given to us. Not all the time, but sometimes. B is the value of y when x is 0. It is the value of y when x is 0. In this table, B is 3. It is positive 3, not negative. Here B is probably a 0. Okay, so not this, not 0. It is positive 3, positive 3, and it is not negative 3. I am left with 2 answers. Let's go ahead and find m. M tells me the change from one point to another. Let's go ahead and find m. Is change in y over change in x. Let's put a fraction bar. So change y from 3 to 2. Oh, decrease. Minus 2. Change in y is a minus 2. Negative 2. Change in x. From 0 to 1, change in x is just adding 1. Right? So negative 2 over 1. A number over 1 is the number itself. I can say that in this case, m is negative 2. M is negative 2, just negative. And therefore I can say C is correct because it says m is negative 2. Also see that the values of y are decreasing. Therefore m is negative. See? The value of x is increasing. X increased from 0 to 1, but y decreased by 2. X increased from 1 to 2, but y decreased from a positive 1 to a negative 1. So if y is decreasing as x increases, definitely m is negative. Look at it carefully. Note down questions, concerns to ask me on Wednesday. You have all seen these questions. I won't tell you where, but I can assure you have all seen these questions and most of you struggled. Let's go ahead and move on. Oh, that's the end of the lesson. Reminder, I'm going to be back on Wednesday. So tomorrow again, you will have a recorded class. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you turn in your completed Nearpod to me. I might consider that for a extra credit.